Daniel, and I'm the director here at Widefield Parks and Recreation, and it really is my privilege tonight to be able to present to you about an exciting project that we're working on, and as a district we're working on. Dave Gish and I have been spending months, really a lot of planning and meetings to see what's about to come to fruition. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what our vision was, why we decided to move forward with building a new facility, and a little bit of a glimpse of what it's going to look like and what it can provide for our community. And then I ask you guys to just spread the word so that there's an excitement over the next 18 months, and when the doors open, you guys can fill it with activities, and we hope to serve, you know, kids as young as infant all the way up to our senior population of the community. So let me get started a little bit about where we began and where we hope to go moving forward. So a little bit about the vision. I'll tell you, as a youth, when I moved into the security and Widefield area, I remember riding my bike and sitting right out there, going to the library, getting a book, and feeling like this was paradise. A chance for 25 cents to go swim, come in here and hang out in the youth center, the concession stand. I mean, this really was a cool place for me. So this building, as old and as outdated as it may be, is a very special place for me. And when I started my career in Widefield as a young teacher, I said, someday I hope that I'll be able to run that place because it means a lot to me. So 18 months ago, when I accepted the director position, I really wanted to have some tangible goals moving forward, and one of it is this beautiful campus we have here with mature trees and beautiful views. I wanted to make it a community hub. Our first phases were the redesign of that kind of northwest section when you drive up, and I hope it's eye-catching, and the landscape area, and a brand new fitness-focused playground that really serves people from all ages. And we wanted that to grab people's attention and bring them into our campus. So that was phase one. The second phase is to reconstruct our pathways with a new recreation center to be in the center of our campus. We were also wanting to redevelop many of our fields to be more of, instead of just being a pure athletic field, we want it to be something that has more accessibility for students and adults with handicapping conditions. And so we have already started plans with like an all-weather surface fields that we can use for community events along with athletics. So the idea is that we want to make this a community hub. Some of the things that we found through our studies and some of the research that had been done prior to even my arrival was that these were the things that were number one on the list that the community had overwhelmingly said we need. We need a place where there's like a multi-use field house, not just big basketball gyms, but a place that could host things, whether it was volleyball, pickleball, racket sports, but also be big enough to have craft fairs and other things. We also wanted fitness areas. We really don't have a lot of gyms on this end of town, but a place where someone could come and walk in an indoor track in inclement weather days, a place to have dedicated space, not quite like this, but an actual fitness room that's built for fitness activities and group fitness classes. They wanted a cardio and weight areas and rooms, wanted upgraded locker rooms. They wanted a place that they could rent and have community meetings. And so in addition to that is a children's center. We do have 3 preschool classrooms upstairs that have really met our needs for many years, but it doesn't necessarily meet the needs of our community who may want to drop children off and then go work out or participate in some of our programming. So we wanted a children's center that would be functional for that as well. And then last is we really needed to upgrade our office space. And Lane will tell you she currently is in an office space that was once a storage closet, and it's also a hallway. Not the most ideal. She makes it her own and makes it work for her, but it isn't really an ideal space because we have grown and the need of our staffing has grown and we don't have the space for it. So those were kind of what set us in this motion. What we did is we also wanted to make sure that this vision that we had developed internally was going to meet the needs of the community. So we went out and we held steering committee conversations and groups and said, what are the benefits? And this is what came out of those meetings. We thought it would become a resource that we could also better recruit teachers and say, look, we're the only school district in the state of Colorado that has its own park and rec center that we can offer discounted park and rec and programming for teachers. And that's something as teachers are coming and we are recruiting, we can say this is what we offer that somebody else doesn't. And we want the best teachers. Also that through our studies, whether it was the master plan or whether it was the feasibility study of 2018, the community stakeholders overwhelmingly supported us to expand and offer more. We also wanted to offer expanded and a benefit of senior activities and programs. I am currently sitting on the Fountain Valley Senior Center board, and we're starting to collaborate about this new space and what it could mean for them as well. And last, we thought that this would also contribute to the overall economic health of this community. Many times, students and youth in our community, their very first job is with us. Not only do we employ and start to build job skills for our youth, but it's also, as we grow, we're also going to offer jobs and opportunities for other community members. And we think that's important. In addition to that, buying locally and making sure that we attract visitors and other vendors to our area. Now, what we envision as a community hub, we want this main campus to be a center for community events. We already have begun to start that process. You know, we're in our 17th year in the Christmas lighting celebration. That has grown to a huge event. Even though with COVID last year we did a drive-thru, we still had over 2,000 people participate. That's something we look forward to every year. We want to continue to have these events that draw our community together. We want to connect our current library, our upgraded parks, our new playgrounds, pool, trails, and this new recreation center to be, again, service many different people within our community. And we want to be able to collaborate with other groups, both within our community, within our school district, and others, to be able to offer more. Now, this is where we've been, and this is where we're going. We really started some more formal processes in February where we went to the advisory board that serves us here at the Park and Rec, the school board, and the superintendent to start getting formal approvals to move aggressively with our plan and our vision. There was a building committee that was formed. There were several meetings that were held last spring, along with community meetings at Widefield High School, King Elementary, and Grand Mountain School to solicit feedback. We then secured the funding plan with our finance department, and I worked with Terry Kimber to develop how this was going to work and how we were going to be able to afford this dream that we were coming up with. From there, after, again, more community meetings were held, we finalized plans and submitted them in for final regional approval and the last kind of contractor bid pricing. That's where we are right now. We're literally weeks away for those final steps. Materials have started to be ordered. Like many other projects, it is delayed. We had intentionally wanted to start building in January. It looks like with some material delays, we hope to break ground and have dirt moving by March. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about that funding plan that I accidentally just went flying by. So these are just kind of general estimated numbers, but this is how we put that funding plan together. Ben Valdez, who was my predecessor, had also shared this vision on expanding the facilities here, and he had over years saved nearly $6.5 million in reserve to be able to put towards this project. We went through what's called a COP loan process, and I can tell you, just like anybody who's buying houses and getting loans, interest rates are absolutely advantageous and beneficial for us to move at this time. 17 million of that would be secured through that. Again, not asking taxpayers for more money. It would be paid back internally through our programming and our revenue. We'd have a total of $23.5 million. We'd like to keep $1.5 million in reserve for a rainy day, with a project total around $22 million. Now, where is this going to be? Well, if you kind of want to know where we are located now and where it will be on our campus, this is the pool, and we're kind of located in this corner right here. That main south parking lot is just to the back of the room here, and we have our lower baseball, softball field called our red field. We are going to lose that red field, but we are going to gain the 60,000 square foot facility. Just to the south and west of that, we have the original baseball field that was built here, field number 1. That is the one that we're going to expand, make it more accessible, and it'd be an all-weather surface as the beginning of the improvements that will surround. So that's where we'll be located. We're also in the middle of, actually right now, currently into a traffic study One of the proposals is to put, is to put a roundabout and to improve some of the traffic movement, kind of in that north section there. Also expanded parking lots to the north, south, in front of it. Now, the cool thing about it is it's going to be positioned kind of high in the center of our campus and look to the beautiful mountains to the west. So that's where it's going to be located. Now, what's going to kind of be in it? These are very general, rough drawings. This is where we accomplish those spaces that were proposed. And we have a child care center that will be preschool classrooms during the day, during the school year, and at 3:30 it'll be converted over into a child watch for those who want to come work out in the evenings and weekends. In the summer, it'll be available throughout the day at different times. We'll have new locker rooms that will eventually feed into phase 2, which will be a new competitive high school pool and rec pool with slides and fun things. We have 2 meeting rooms down at the bottom. Those are 2 separate, and they're bigger than this space now, and then they open up to combine to over 2,300 square foot. On one side of it will also be a catering-style kitchen. Those areas could be rented and used for training or family gatherings or community events. And yes, and then, yeah, and these little office pockets through here, and including lanes will probably be somewhere in this area. Those were very important. And again, as silly as it sounds, but when you're cramped into a closet right now, just having your own workspace is very important. The staff is very excited. We'll have a new kind of administrative office area and training rooms and a break room for our staff to really have a place where they can feel taken care of. Now, right here is the 2 of the 3 courts that are shown, but it's a rather large field house. That alone is about 23,000 square foot in space. So very large. The upstairs, again, we have the track that will be around that, and then we have our cardio and weights. And one of the exciting things that has been on the chopping block and off the chopping block, and final with the help of Dave Gish, who made sure it went to the final one, is this outside rooftop exercise deck. Where literally it'll be outside on the north. It'll be covered, but a place to go outside and hold group fitness classes and personal training and other things, and it'll just be beautiful as it looks out onto our campus and the mountains. We'll have 2 dedicated exercise rooms that'll be about the size of this room for our yoga and our group exercise classes. And then kind of an opening and a very open concept, and then access to the walking track that will have 3 lanes. Now, some of the renderings, this is what we think it's going to look like. You know, renderings are all just estimates. I put some of the ones out here too, but we like the design. We think it's going to fit into this community. We think it's going to complement the spaces and the buildings we have now, but it's going to look different than a school. And that was important to us. We didn't want to have something that just looks like a school building. We wanted it to look different and complement our school district as a whole. You can see to the north where that rooftop right there is going to be. It's an exciting area, and a lot of windows to the west here to look out upon the beautiful mountains. An open concept, and for our entry, this is what we call our field house or our gyms. And one unique feature here is that this is kind of a carpeted walk path, so people can go from one end to the other without interrupting games and activities in the middle. These areas can be divided into 3 distinct areas or one big open area. This is what the meeting rooms would look like, and the architects did a really nice job. That's actually the view that we're going to have when it is built out to the current building now and to the west. Again, with a divider, it could be one big room or it can be 2 separate rooms depending on the needs. That would be the upstairs with the all glass area and look out to the outdoor deck, and where it'd be a traditional cardio weights fitness area. And then last, I'm done with my part, and hopefully that I was shared with it my passion, and I hope I answered most questions. But do you guys have any questions or need of clarification about this cool project? So additional to what we have now, I believe the final number was 225 more parking. Now, it sounds like a lot, but if you're here on a Saturday, we are jam-packed, and between library activities and youth sports, every parking spot. We have some other alternates that if we had a little bit more money or some of the bids come lower than we think, we're going to add more parking We do know that's something that isn't the most ideal because we know that this is going to bring more people, into the center of the campus. That's why we hope just even the infrastructures of how to get people in and out are going to be improved. But that's probably going to be our biggest hurdle and something that may not be ideal the moment we open the doors. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I agree. Yes, ma'am. Great question. It is yet to be determined. Right now, I'm afraid to say, hey, we're going to completely vacate. The library is still going to be in the library area. That they are not moving. They'll still anchor to the north. The rest of the square foot, until I know for sure, it is not going to be integral into what the programming we currently offer. We've also had some conversations, Dave and I have, and with Kevin Duran, the superintendent, about is there other programs within our school district, or are there other areas that would be in need of space, and so it's still yet to be determined. No, they'd move over to the new. That was our goal, is to ideally everything that we have here would move over, and if for some reason we still need more space, we may hold on to it for future. Except the library. The libraries, that they're still staying there. Because they're kind of a separate entity. The rec center vision wasn't designed with a full functioning library attached to it at that time. And they would be interested in actually expanding into the spaces if that was available to them. So we've had some conversations about it. I just don't want to make any definite decisions until we know for sure the school district isn't going to need this space. Right now, no. And we think, based on our current financial trajectory, it would take 10 to 12 years to build up enough money for that phase 2 to build the new pools. And so what we did instead was we put about $150,000 in renovations to the inside and outside pools. We actually last winter gutted it down and replastered, and it hasn't been replastered in 50 years. And put a lot of money to make sure that what we have is going to make it at a high quality for those 10 years. We actually are bringing engineers in to also look at our HVAC and our boiler system to keep them warm, and we're going to start heating the outside splash park. So our hope is to hold on to it until then. So that part will still be there for at least 10 more years. Yes, ma'am.
Money. How are you, is it going to be like a monthly membership fee? How do you go to this process?
Great. And that's what we are working on right now. So we will have like daily use passes, and we will have monthly memberships. What we want to do when we tier our monthly memberships is that if you are an employee of the school district, you're going to pay the least amount of money to be a member. If you are a community member and live within the school district, you're going to pay about the same amount as an employee because you pay taxes and you support us there. If you are a non-resident, the fees would then increase. We will have a senior also level. And what we did is we looked at surrounding YMCAs and other gyms and said, okay, this is where they charge. How can we still function, provide the services we want to, but less than what they're charging? So we still haven't worked out a final figure yet as we do cost analysis of what it's going to cost to light, staff, and provide. But we're also going to be open more. And we're going to be open on weekends and evenings more than what this building has been open, which is going to require, staffing. And so, we have to find that magic number where I think we can get the most bang for our buck, where we can provide a reasonably cost-effective service for our community and also staff it as well. Great question. And as soon as we're hoping to have that membership structure out and communicated at about a year from now, with the thought of spring of 23 is when the doors will open. So people will have that 6 months to kind of see what it would cost, financially plan, and come pre-purchase memberships. And, we'll have our marketing and sales department will have, some kind of, I'm sure, initial rates and things that we will develop over that time. Yes, sir.
Just to point out, you had that slide that showed the timeline of when you started doing what. What you don't have is another almost as long timeline that the Parks and Rec was already looking at expanding and figuring out what our usage is.
Because originally
got,
That project?
Mhm.
well, this is, I feel like this is the original. So I was on the Fountain Valley, Parks and Rec, Recreation Facility Committee, and we met for almost a year,
Mhm.
trying to get together. The thing is, it's like any relationship, we showed up with some money to do something, and then they had to figure out their side. We were kind of guiding them through that. That was kind of part of why we came together. But it's really good having been on that committee and watching all those surveys and seeing the need and the want and the energy. Yes, we want this. And when that kind of fell apart, it was bad timing for the city. It was excellent timing for us. So kudos to Parks and Rec for picking up where that might have left off and just making it happen.
Yeah. We did have to scale down a little bit from those original plans, and there were some things that worked into our favor that helped us kind of get this to the finish line. But I think the original vision was this collaborative communities, but everybody has their own agendas. Everybody has their own, if I'm going to give money, who's going to control it, who's going to run it. And then everybody came up with ideas, but it was going to be voter dependent on whether those ideas would come to fruition. And, it's hard to put a campaign together and to, go to a community that's going to vote something in. And at the end of the day, I will say when I came on board, I looked at, I remember by being in the school district, some of those efforts, really even before that collaborative one, there were other attempts 10 years even previously. And I just didn't know if any of those were going to come to fruition if we didn't have complete control. So we kind of tried to put our arms around it and say, well, how can we do this with what we can control? And that's where we came up with what we have today. Okay. We are? Yes, sir.
So, you stated that there's not going to be any extra taxes to cover, and obviously some of the admission fees and taxes are going to be part of the base for this. Can you speak to what else is paying and funding this project?
Yeah, so I'll kind of, absolutely. So, and I'll, if you get too depth in questions, I'll have to stop because I'll default into, because a lot of this I leaned on Terry Kimber and our finance department to kind of walk alongside. And if I miss something, chime in as well. So again, $6.5 million were just saved in reserve as carryover from just good fiscal responsible practices prior to my arrival. Ben Valdez, his vision was to be able to bring money to the table every year. When he cut costs when he could, he ran efficiently and was able to just truly just save the old-fashioned way. We then went to a COP, which is basically it's a loan, like a bonding loan process, in which we went into debt. $17 million. Well, it's $14 million in debt, but it yields about $17 million through the bond process. That then covered the rest. So that's kind of the initial construction budget. In addition to that, kind of how we were funded in general, which is a little separate than like how schools are funded, because originally, and again, if I get too detailed and you don't need this information, stop me, but the Park and Rec was its separate own independent Park and Rec division prior to it being absorbed and purchased by the school district in the 70s. And so it held on to its original financial structure, which were independent mills that, based on your taxes that come to us, we're at 3-point-some mills, and then there was a mill levy override in the early 2000s that also added a little bit on top of that we get that help us with our day-to-day operation. That's why, one, we can offer our Park and Rec programs at really cheap compared to surrounding, and that pays also when we offer programming that we don't charge the community. So that's how we kind of will continue. That will grow as our community grows, just like any of the mills do. We are predicting that we will see growth, but based on our financial structures, we think we can pay off the loan and continue to operate the way we're operating. And the only reason we would add then the cost for the memberships is just to make sure that we are then, again, paying the light bill. The increased cost of operations is what that would be for. Does that help? Did I answer that?
That helps.
Okay.
Also, is this going to, I have to assume that this is going to create some additional jobs?
Absolutely.
Is that
Absolutely. Twofold, kind of, actually. Like I said earlier, we have been sometimes the very first employer for many of our community students already. Our lifeguarding program, our teaching swim lessons programs are almost entirely of our student body. We also hire part-time seasonal to be officials and site supervisors to help us with outdoor education, office work. So we already do that. That will only expand. In addition, we've had some initial conversations with our mill, who do our CTE programming, in which we are looking to become a site where our high school students can get high school credit to come work with us and work within that career to education pathway, and that this building would just add more opportunity for that. So absolutely, it's something I think is going to be essential and has always been essential to how we function. I look back in the conversations I've had with longtime community like Joe Royer, and who's a former superintendent, Mark Munoz, who was at Wi-Fi. Their very first jobs are in this building. So we'd like to continue that tradition. Both the Seteca kids are working for us. Also teachers, those that want to moonlight, there's no reason why they have to go. We have some teachers who teach swim lessons, including my wife, who teaches in the district. So we want to keep community members here and work for us. So kids, pass it along. We need some more lifeguards. In addition, we have now, we'll propose starting next school year, there will be a lifeguard certification class that Widefield High School and Mesa Ridge will offer, so that we can get those kids. We're gonna train them here, and then we can hire them to be lifeguards. Every year we need lifeguards. Any other questions? All right, thank you guys. I appreciate your time this evening.